Los Angeles, I'm in most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Coming to you on a Thursday, February 25th, the LA Galaxy successfully launching the community kit. That's going to be a large portion of the show. It's going to be a large portion of the show, though, because, well, I don't need to tell you this. There isn't much else that's happening. It's been a crazy day for me. I can discuss that a little bit after we get to the break. The Hammer is off this week, so to help me with tonight's show, she's back. It's Sophie, the Cannon, Nicolaou. Sophie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and can I just say I love the new music at the beginning of the show. I've been meaning to tell you that, but listening to it, I love it.
That's
the LA thing.
That's good. You know, it's funny because I always know how long people have been listening by whether or not they say it's new music or old music. Because it is one of our old intros that we had a long time ago, and I was like, well, I'll probably get sued if I keep it up. But you know what? I said, whatever. We needed to change something up, Sophie, this year. Something needed to change, and we have got it. And so we have made it here. And I would just like to say, I think, Sophie, it might be a minor miracle that we did make it here tonight. I've been trying to mess with getting the show ready and getting Sophie's audio plugged in and actually working. If it works tonight, then hey, we did something well. And if it didn't work tonight, I have no idea, and I'll try to probably fix it in post. But I've had a day where I've basically been at the office for the last 12 and a half hours, and I ran here to do this show. And I will honestly say I missed nothing in LA Galaxy land because there's not a ton of stuff going on. Do you feel that way?
I do, because obviously I've been listening to the shows with Kevin and the Hammer, and it just seems very quiet. To be honest, it seems, is it me or does it seem very quiet in general with MLS? I think that, you know, I've been talking to the guys over there because MLS Media Day is coming up, and I always get excited about that, to be part of that and to be able to interview different players from different teams for TalkSport in the UK. But it does seem a little too quiet, especially where LA Galaxy are concerned, because I think we've been spoiled and used to a marquee player coming in every season. And I think last year's marquee player was such a letdown, and the team was a letdown. 22 points, 10th position, no playoffs, right. Kind of a brutal season for a 5-star winning team. So, yeah, I mean, I know I don't want it to always be bringing in players who are in the twilight of their career, who are looking at, you know, people who are calling this a retirement league, because that's not the case. Look what Zlatan's doing at AC Milan right now. I think we all miss him. But it's that juice, that excitement that it's like having an omelette without the eggs. There's a major ingredient missing, and can't quite put my finger on it, but it's a bit too quiet right now. But there's still time.
There's still you feel confident in that. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that there has to be signings. There's 25 players on this roster, and I think that maybe 3 or 4 of them are not even MLS caliber players in terms of I would expect them to play at LA Galaxy too. We've talked about this many times, just in terms of, you know, where we expect the roster moves to sort of happen. The LA Galaxy is still going after Christian Pavone. There's the sexual assault allegations. There's the legal case. Thank God there's no update on that, and I don't have to provide it because it's been a soap opera of twists and turns. We went over on Monday night to sort of talk about what the latest is in that. So if you want to catch back up on Monday night, you got it. So I mean, when you're trying to see this season and get excited for the season, one, you and I were talking about this, and I thought it was you put it very well, and I hope you're not upset I'm taking from off the air on the air, but you said, I sort of feel like is the pandemic over? It feels in a way like everybody's sort of planning like it is, but we're very much in limbo land. But I also feel optimistic that there are going to be people who are in our chat room, that you and I because we're reporters, but that everybody, at least season ticket holders at some point in this season are going to be in the stadium. I feel confident in that right now. And I do know about the variants. I do know about other things. I'm paying attention to that. I'm just saying there seems to be an unrealistic optimism that I have. And maybe that's just the disillusionment that we're sort of going through right now.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the case. I think that, I was talking to my family in England, of course, and they've been in a serious lockdown. When we say lockdown, England for the last, 8 weeks has been in a serious lockdown, and now they're lifting some restrictions, and they've got this 5-phase come back to society. They're talking about in May, which I think it's May 17th, is letting, fans into Premier League games, which is going to be incredible because it's the end of the season and it's a great way for fans to be able to kind of, regroup and get back together. And they're saying 10,000 fans in stadiums that, have major capacity, which is huge. And I think the NFL has been a good example of how you can do it. I mean, I'm not saying the Super Bowl was a bit weird and the celebrations were a bit weird because I was like, oh, wow, okay, so the pandemic is over because everyone was partying like rock stars in there. But then you look at Florida's numbers compared to California's. They haven't been on a major lockdown like we do, and our numbers are higher. So I think that people are willing to start saying, look, people can be responsible. We have to trust people to do the right thing. And I think MLS were really stellar in how they handled the whole thing. You and I went to the games. We felt safe when we were there. Right. I think there's a way to do it and integrate fans back in to things. And I think they have to, Josh, from a fiscal responsibility side. I mean, the league lost what? $1 billion last season? They say that. I mean, it might be dramatic.
Yes.
But
yes, they are being dramatic, absolutely. But yes, they lost a considerable amount of money, absolutely.
I mean, concessions, tickets, all of this, game day money is huge for clubs. So they're going to have to figure it out and find a way. And also as a society, we're going to have to figure out how we move on. The more people get vaccinated, the better it is for everybody. But I think certain sports have shown that you can do it slowly but surely. And I don't know if you were watching the Australian Open too, but they opened the gates for the semi-finals, and they had half the capacity, people present. So I think if there's a league that can do it and do it safely, it's MLS.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could go with looking at reduced capacities. I think that works. I think that you could, look at possibly letting in season ticket holders. There seems to be ways in which you could successfully do this stuff. But now we're in that spot where they're going to have to start making those decisions and sort of, plan out what they're going to do. I mean, I will say right now that it feels like in California, we're going to be, one of the last ones to sort of open up. One, just because I think everybody is going to be cautious and will follow a lot of the science here. Mm-hmm. And two, I think that there just seems to be more hesitancy in California than anywhere else. And as the most populous state in the union, it might include that. I mean, it's going to take us a while.
Well,
for us to
economically, it's the largest too, right? So
yeah, it is. It absolutely is. So all those things matter. But I mean, sports that are happening in California, it's all the major sports. It's the Lakers, it's the Kings, it's the Ducks, it's the Angels, it's the Dodgers, it's the Giants and the A's. It's the San Jose Earthquakes, it's LAFC, it's all the professional. Yeah, the Warriors, it's all the professional sports. It's the 49ers. It's all those across the entire state that are affected right now. And as they do it in different counties and sort of look at that, then, maybe there's a chance. Maybe, Sophie, maybe there's a chance that we see something here in the future. So I think that there should be some cautious optimism. I have been hearing from some people that there are discussions right now within the LA Galaxy or around the organization about trying to get fans back in and when they think that is going to happen. Granted, they have no power to make that happen, but they're actively planning for that eventuality, which is a good thing.
But Josh, I think if the NFL have done it and can do it, why? I mean, I think, yes, each state has its own issues and has to abide by the law. But I think when you see what's happened with the NFL this season, I think it's unfair. And from a monetary point of view, exceptionally unfair, because at the end of the day, these teams are also businesses. And, going through another season without being able to have fans in the stadium, I don't think, that creates all sorts of economic issues.
Right.
Not only for the teams, but the businesses around the stadiums who have suffered greatly since last season. And I think, we have to be able to kind of get the communities back on their feet and working. These are mom and pop shops. These are small businesses. I mean, these are really important and components to every community. So they're going to have to figure it out, I think. I really do, especially when you see other states who are able to bring fans back, whether it's the NFL, NBA, or whatever.
Yeah, I think if I always said for outdoor sports, like you said, we were there. I felt perfectly fine, but there were only like 20 of us. I mean, that's one of the things. There was 20 of us in a 25,000 seat stadium, plus 22 players and subs and some referees. It was pretty easy to stay away from.
Yes.
In fact, I do wish they gave us more space because Kevin kept being really close to me. Like he was within 8 feet, so I was like, you need to move over. I do have some news. You want to talk about some mildly interesting LA Galaxy news? So the preliminary rosters for Olympic qualifying got put out, and I think these are the 50-man rosters that they were able to put out there. So there are 4 LA Galaxy players that were listed on there. One of them is listed twice, as everybody already knows. Julian Araujo was listed on the USA roster. Jonathan Klinsmann was listed on the US roster. Efrain Alvarez was listed on the US roster. And Danilo Acosta was listed on the Honduras roster. Great, cool, awesome. Efrain Alvarez was also listed on the Mexico roster.
Yeah, so, what do you make of that?
I think it's a good play. It hurts the U.S. none. Right now, from my understanding, he is cap tied to Mexico because he played in official events for their youth team. So he would need to make a one-time switch if he was coming to the United States. And that means if he makes the switch, that's it. It's over. It's done. Right? He can't go back. So I would think certainly he feels comfortable in Mexico. I think that the United States did a good job of sort of trying to woo him. And so there is some interest there, but he is not going to make that one-time switch now. That's my guess. So I would expect that whenever he goes for this Olympic qualifying, because we're going to assume the Olympics are a thing, and they're actually going to happen. The Summer Olympics are going to happen in Japan. Then Efrain Alvarez will go into CONCACAF Olympic qualifying under the flag of Mexico. And that might be better for him in terms of his playing time and what he wants to do. Julian Araujo actually has has stiff competition to sort of get into that roster and play. So I like that. Efrain Alvarez, this is his year to sort of make or break something. So I say stick with Mexico, stick with something, and then go out there and hopefully prove that you deserve to be on that. And not only that, but possibly get called up for the senior Mexican national team as well. So to me, it feels like Efrain's path is sort of placed on the Mexico side with Tata Martino. But Greg Berhalter in the United States did, I think, a fairly good job of actually sort of
They made no bones about wanting him to play for the US.
I mean, it's twofold though, right? Because if you're the US, one, you want Efrain Alvarez to play for you, and two, you want to take him away from Mexico, right? And if you're Mexico,
I mean the rivalry and everything. It's so funny because has he made the decision based on his path to being able to play, or has he made his decision on where his heart is? I think those are two very different things. And I've seen this with some players that can't play for England, and then they go to choose and play for, say, the Republic of Ireland,
right,
or other nations. It's not easy to get into the England team. Mexico definitely has improved. It's not easy, but the US also has an insane amount of talent that is coming through. And just look at some of the young players in Europe playing for top teams like Barcelona, Dortmund, Juventus. I mean, it's challenging there too. So, what's your take? Is it heart or is it root?
I think for him I think they're combined. I think he has his heart in Mexico, and I think that's where he wants to try to play. He's got an uphill battle either way in both of those teams. So there's not anything given. And quite honestly, with the way that he's played for the LA Galaxy last year, this year, he's not going to make either one of those rosters right now, because he hasn't shown enough, in my opinion, to really do it. But I mean, this is the place to do it, a U23 roster, Olympic qualifying. So it'll be interesting. But just to sort of, put everybody's mind and sort of understand, the Galaxy could be missing Julian Araujo. They could be missing Jonathan Klinsmann. They could be missing Efrain Alvarez. And they could be missing Danilo Acosta, all to this qualifying. And it starts on March 18th. And it will roll through, I think the finals are Tuesday, March 30th. So let's see, February, April, March, right? We're in February. April comes up next. Is that February, March, April? Sorry, I don't know my months. It's been that day, Sophie. It's been that day. So February, March. So actually, it should be mostly done in the preseason, because the season's not starting until April 17th. So they could be missing part of the preseason, sort of in this qualifying to get there. And then we'll have to see if they do make it. If the U.S. or Mexico do qualify, or if Honduras does qualify, then they would also be called up during the summer games themselves to play in that U23 style tournament with a certain number of overs. Don't forget about the overs. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think Araujo's path is a little clearer right now. I don't know if you agree, but I just think the level of talent and obviously the impact that he had, as bad as LA Galaxy were last season, I'm not saying he's the same type of talent as Saka, but I see it as a little bit like my team, Arsenal, as well. In a terrible year, Saka has really been the shining light, and you can see that he's got so much potential. And I think last season, as bad as LA Galaxy were, there was something about Araujo. I mean, he has to figure out his discipline this season. Can't be getting those red cards and those bookings. But he was definitely a shining light. When there was news of him, maybe, I know Spurs was sniffing around. I got so upset.
Yes.
Because in my mind, I'd like to, if he's not going to play for LA Galaxy, I'd love him to be at the Arsenal to replace Hector Bellerin there at right back and have him for 10 years. But it seems to me that their paths are a little bit different in terms of where they're at right now, talent-wise, but also how many games they've played and the contributions they've made to the team.
Yeah, Araujo really, and we have touched on this over the last couple of weeks, and certainly with his front page article, and just the fact that he's doing so many right things. He's doing so many right things. We're going to talk about him being a little upset, by the way. Here in a couple
Is he
minutes.
Upset? Is that true? Is he?
I heard
you'll
that.
get to it. Yeah.
I heard that. But we're going to talk about him being upset, and quite honestly, has every right to be upset. So, so we'll talk about that. But I think that just with the hype around him, he is getting that hype. But in my mind, it's deserved because of the way he played, and so I think that separates him really from what Efrain has sort of shown. There's been glimpses. You've seen the left foot when he's given time and when he can, think his way through in a deliberate motion. Efrain Alvarez can be very good, and he's very good with light touches on passing. He has the ability. In my opinion, he plays too slow. and he's not very physical, and he's going to have to grow into that. Julian Araujo came into camp last year and sort of became a man, and now it's Efrain Alvarez's turn to become that man. You're
Totally
playing against
agree.
men, you have to be that man.
Yeah.
Like me, just bulk up on all the chocolate chip cookies.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like you. But Araujo also has that versatility, doesn't he? He can play in a couple of different positions. And I think, he showed that as well last season too. So, yeah, but, maybe you can give Alvarez some tips on your weight right now. What you lifting, Josh? What you lifting?
I'm lifting my liquid IV. Do you know what a liquid IV is? It's my favorite thing in the world. If you're lazy and you don't want to drink a lot of water, you drink this liquid IV stuff, and it basically tastes like lime Gatorade, and it replaces I think one liquid IV is good for 2 or 3 glasses of water. So every night I drink one of these because I didn't drink any water all day. So I will have this. You're totally not supposed to use it that way. Do not use it that way. It's supposed to it's supposed to help you hydrate on top of the water that you're drinking. But the pandemic's got me down. All right, it's one of those.
Are you drinking too much pop during the day?
Yes,
what's
absolutely.
your tipple?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of the times I either have a Dr. Pepper whenever I'm recording, or I have water. Today it was the liquid IV only because my wife is nice enough to have made it for me before I ran straight upstairs to get this done. So, yeah, I'm glad we went on that sidetrack. But
Michael Douglas have you seen the Kaminsky Method? By the way, it's a great show.
Yes, I've seen. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen a good portion of it.
Yeah, his drink was whiskey, but with Dr. Pepper, which I found completely gross. I don't know.
Did you try it?
No, I'm not a whiskey. I do not like whiskey at all. I just can't. It's too potent, and I just don't like the smell.
If I'm really going to drink, I drink scotch. But that, as a almost 40-year-old now, really drinking for me is having one scotch once every 2 months. That's really drinking for me.
Excuse me, you're not 40 yet.
No, thank God. Why? I look older, don't I? That's the thing.
No.
The haircut.
It's just the fact that wow.
I'm 39 and will be 40 this summer, but we don't want to talk about that.
Do you know I'm going to be 50 this year?
But see, you're still young, hip, and fun. Whereas I've lost most of my hair. I look like I need to go to sleep right now.
I've got bags under my eyes, mate. It's getting there.
and I think my wife even feels sorry for me at this point. She's like, too bad. You had a good run though. Anyway, so I do have another little piece of news before we get to the kit launch. Former associate head coach Dave Sarakin, and if any of you know Dave, you'll know him obviously as the former assistant to Bruce Arena. They always called him. He was never an assistant coach. He was associate head coach. Just wanted to let you know that. That's the thing. And of course, Dave's big claim to fame, some people would say, would be the interim manager as the U.S. men's national team interim manager, or the guy who ate tacos with me after the 2014 MLS Cup celebration party down in Hermosa Beach. So either of those are why you probably know Dave Sarakin. But anyway, Dave just took a job. And Dave was a great friend of the show whenever he was with the coaching staff. He used to come on maybe once a month. He would come on and just talk soccer with us. And it was great because Bruce never wanted to do it. So Bruce would let any of his assistants come on the show. So that way he didn't have to do it. Noonan or Dave would come on. And so Dave just took the Puerto Rico national team job. So he'll be coaching national team Puerto Rico. I think that's great. I'm very, very, very happy with that. And I always thought he sort of got a bad rap as the interim manager of the U.S. men's national team. He did what he needed to do and sort of got that going. So congratulations, Dave.
Josh, anyone doing the interim manager job, it's a thankless task. You're set up to fail, really, or you're caught between a rock and a hard place. It's not an easy thing. So, well, good for him. Congratulations to him. That's good. That's a good gig.
Yeah, it is a good gig, and I would like to point out I have been the interim caretaker of Corner of the Galaxy since 2009. They've been meaning to replace me, but I'm still here. So there we go. Good thing the chat room is telling us how old everybody is. So it's making me.
What's going on? Should I have a look?
They're good. They're not saying anything. They're talking about their years, how old they are. So they haven't quite gone on to say how. I mean, honestly, if you looked at me, I think I'm still 25. This still looks 25 in my mind.
But you've got great skin. I mean, people may not be able to see that, but I've seen it up close. You have great skin.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of it on the top of my head too, because the hair has gone this way and the skin keeps going. So we have that. So that's sort of it. Let's get to the kit launch, because this was special, and I think I can I think I'm qualified to sort of say that, Sophie. 13th season covering the LA Galaxy, and to understand the hype behind the jersey, and then to live up to that hype, and then to, I think, fail in not understanding how big that hype really was going to be. And a couple other little tiny failures, but overall, what a tremendous success for the LA Galaxy. According to Chris Thomas, who was a big part of this jersey launch for the LA Galaxy, Chris said it was the most successful kit launch in MLS history. Wow. I got a text message as I was texting the LA Galaxy 30 minutes after they released the kit at 10 a.m. It had sold out at the Team LA store.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. And I also told them that was going to happen the day before, and they were like, "Really? You think?" And I'm like, "Hey, yes." I'm like, I said it would sell. I go, "There won't be any available by tomorrow afternoon." I go, "It's not going to happen." I go, "I am telling you, everybody is looking at this." And here's I want to make it very clear: the success of this kit is far-reaching. It means a lot. It means that they got a lot of things right. And so, the overall thing. And if you read the article that I wrote on cornerofthegalaxy.com, I think there's probably some poetic language in there trying to explain this kit and what it means to LA Galaxy fans and sort of how that goes. So it was an unqualified success. Absolutely everything was great. There were things that weren't perfect, and I'll talk about those things, but overall it was amazing. Did you get any of the hype? Did you feel it?
So, there was a lot of press for it, and I think I was thinking to myself, I think I may have mentioned it to Larry, I can't remember who, but I was thinking, wow, imagine if this wasn't in a COVID time and how much more hype there would have been, because we would have been there, probably an event at the stadium,
right?
Different players, the whole hoopla. And so I think that the excitement, though, came across through social media and came across through great outlets like yours, and the PR in general. And having been into your studio, Josh, and I love hearing you, I wanted to hear you talk about this, because for me as well, I've been covering the team for a long time, but you've literally got every single jersey or scarf on your wall in your studio. And so I know what it means for Galaxy fans. I know what it means when a new jersey comes out, and it has the nostalgia factor, it has the community aspect, which I love about the story. And I think what they did was they built a really good story around this.
They did.
And it gave it a little bit more heart. And I think that's the difference. And what I like about MLS, unlike the Premier League and some other leagues where it feels a bit more like a money grab, the shirts stay around for a couple seasons.
Right.
They're not changing every single season. And so that's the other thing I think I like. And one last point before I let you wax lyrical about this is what a franchise and what a pedigree this team has. In its worst year, when it's on its knees, it's able to come back, launch a new kit, and have that type of hype and excitement about it. It just shows you the depth of the support that LA Galaxy has, and what the 5 stars mean to a lot of fans who followed the team for years and years.
Yeah, I mean, they did get the story right. The story starts further back than that, and I think it's important, and I hinted at it in my story. But it would be naive of us not to look at the retros Ibezeras, right?
Yes.
Which were the knockoff, but knockoff reproductions of the old LA Galaxy kits, the 1997 kit, in particular, and some of those other older kits. People sort of there was demand for that, and they went out and they found somebody who made them, and they made them, and then people were wearing them in the stadium. And this is before COVID. People were wearing them in the stadium.
Yeah,
everybody was like, "That's awesome! I have to have one. Oh, I'm gonna do that. That's cool." I mean, yeah, it's like $25 or $30 or something like that, and it's not a real quality, but silk screen sort of stuff. But that's what really tipped this off, and so I think you have to credit them. For opening everybody's eyes up to the fact that MLS and the LA Galaxy and Adidas were not satisfying that need, right? And so in a way, Retro C Rosera sort of looked and said, this is the roadmap that you need to follow. And if you follow this roadmap, you will be successful because there is demand here. All you have to do is sort of set it up. And that's probably oversimplifying things, right? Because it's easy to look in the rearview mirror and say, oh, well, of course that's what it was. And they followed it. But the Galaxy went out and did that, though. And a tip hat to Chris Thomas. This is usually about an 18-month process, Sophie. So it's not quick, right? And so when we look at how they put that together, they did a really good job. Now, the other part about this is that you have to look and say that they got the design right too. It is not an exact copy of 1997. It is a streamlined future version of the 1997. It's what the 1997 jersey would have looked like in 2021, and that's what it needed to be. If you were going to do that correctly, you needed to have that update. You needed to have that little bit of edge. And again, the 1997 kit, Sophie, is a Nike design, right? So a 1997 Nike design. So really, I would imagine that Adidas even had to go to Nike and said, hey, we're kind of going to copy this a little bit because it's very close, but it's more than that. And so, I mean, the only thing that makes the shirt, and we're showing it on the video portion of the podcast. So if you want to go to YouTube, you can check it out. Obviously, everybody knows what it looks like at this time. If you want to check it out, though, it's there, but you can see it. The only thing that's better than the shirt, Sophie, is the entire thing. And
I love the socks.
Oh my God, I said it on Twitter.
I have to buy some.
I said it on Twitter, and I said, if somebody told me I had to pay $150 for those socks, I would say, give me 2 pairs. Like it's it's stupid to think that we have this unbelievable kit. First of all, they got it right. They got the black and the tech green and the gold right. They got the frame on the sleeves and the neck because it's black and white. It sort of just frames everything really nicely. Even the 3 stripes, which are usually annoying and don't fit the jersey on the shoulders, are okay on this. Like, it's not like they stick out and you go, oh, well, that's horrible. Would I like it without the 3 stripes? Absolutely. But they're there. And they're not horrible. The honey logo. I know there's people complaining about the honey logo. First of all, if you haven't downloaded Honey, you know the sponsorship, right? With Honey, right? If you haven't downloaded Honey, I suggest you do it. I've been saving money ever since that sponsorship came out. And this is not a paid advertisement. It should be, and they should pay me money to talk about them. But the Honey logo on the sleeve,
it's pretty sweet. Forgive the pun.
Very good. Very good. No, it's if you're going to have a logo on a sleeve, that's almost the most unobtrusive logo that you could have on a sleeve. And I will, that's what you want. So yeah. I have that. But then the shorts, I mean, again, I talked about it in my article, and I'm sure it's way too flowery of language for some people. But the shorts just being black with the white Galaxy crest with the 3 stripes coming down, it's like this break in it. And then the socks have the most tech green out of any portion of this, and it just, man,
it's pretty rad. I like also how the shorts are a little longer at the back. There's that cut,
yes,
and I love that. But also, what I love about the fact, I think you hit the nail on the head, that they're all black with the stripe. It's so I say Adidas, of course, where I come from. It's right. Adidas, not Adidas.
Of course it is.
So you get that vintage kind of retro Adidas feel, and it just smacks of it. And I love how they put the 3 stripes on the shoulders, because I think it just connects it all together and it elevates the look of the shorts as well. But the stripes around the socks,
yes.
Forget about it.
It's so nice. And again, that's just the here, I'll do it. That's just the Adidas logo, right? I mean, that's their 3 stripes is what they do, right? But they put it on the top of the socks in the black section, and it breaks up the black section, but it ties it to the frame above. It is perfect. And the gold quasar, just in the center of the sock. How, if they do not sell these socks, I swear to God, they're missing. First of all, there's a whole bunch of people before this, Sophie, who were very convinced that wearing a full kit is not a good thing, and of course we know what they say in England about that, but we won't use that word on here. They're saying, hey, the full kit, nobody ever wears the full kit because you don't want to be one of those people. You can wear the shirt if you want to, but you're not going to wear the full kit. You don't want to be that guy. I'm telling you right now, if they sell the full kit, which by the way they don't, they usually don't sell the shorts. They I've never seen them sell socks before. If they don't sell this full kit, they are losing out on money. I'm not saying that 100% of the people who bought shirts will go out and buy the shorts and the socks, but I would imagine it's in the 30 or 40% of people who would just want to collect this full kit. So LA Galaxy, if you're listening, you need to get the socks. All right, the socks and the shorts up for sale.
Women will wear those socks big time. I'm a socks person, right? So I love wearing socks, especially knee-length socks and stuff like that. It's been pretty cold this winter in California.
You need those.
But yeah, you need those. Those are the kind of socks you can rock as well. By the way, Jonah rocked. He looks great in that kit. Can we just say he's rocking it, isn't he?
They got it all right. And even with Jonah, and the first time we got to see the full kit was here and you saw it. So anyway, so they launched this, right? Let's get back to I've talked about my love affair with this jersey. And obviously, as a member of the media, I needed to purchase one in order to review it accurately. So the 1 or 4 that I purchased, or plus the toddler one, is purely for review. And I'll let you know how all those turn out. So you get to the launch, everything goes off about 5 or 6 minutes before 10 o'clock, because it was supposed to go off at 10. And by the way, before we even get there, I was getting questions 2 days before the event about everything. Can we go to the store? Can we do this? And so I had to go to the Galaxy and be like, hey, people are asking me these questions. I go, I don't know the answers. And they're like, well, it'll be on the press release on Wednesday. And I'm like, that's going to be too late. I go, you don't I'm getting all these questions now. There's a fervor building. There is rumbling. I can feel it. The ground is starting to shake and you're about to have an earthquake. And I'm your early warning system. I'm telling you, it's going to go. And so they started giving me information. I started feeding that out. If you're not on the Discord, all the Discord people had the information. The LA Galaxy screwed up in a couple different ways. One is most of them did not send out season ticket member emails with their codes on them. In fact, most of them didn't send it out until like 4 or 5 hours after the kit had launched. And by that time, everything was sold out. So the smart people who I told, hey, contact your reps in the Discord and on Twitter, went and contacted the reps and got their code. But the Galaxy should have been out in front on that, and they should have put those out on Monday or Tuesday for everybody so that way they could do it. So they screwed that up. But the kit launched about 5 or 6 minutes beforehand. The kids ones came on, and it was funny because the kids ones dropped, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about getting Jake one. I mean, I probably should get Jake one. He likes the Galaxy, being he's 14 months old, almost 15 months old. He likes the Galaxy, so I should probably get him some. So I called my wife. I'm like, hey, what size should I get him? And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just gonna get him at 1. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna, do it. So she gave me the size, and I put that in my cart immediately. And then by the time I refreshed it a couple minutes before 10, they had dropped on the Team LA store. And so then everybody started putting in their codes, and you could see it. It was funny because our Discord and Twitter were very, very busy right up until the point where the kits came out, and then there was nothing. And it was because everybody was on the website ordering their kits. So I agree with you that having it be there in person would have been amazing, right?
Yeah, totally.
But the fact that nobody was there, and the fact that the only way you could get it was online, was sort of like Adele tickets, right? Whenever Adele tickets come out, you get in line, you wait, and you click, and you hopefully you get them. And if you're like me, you get them and then go, well, I don't want those tickets. I want better tickets to that. And so you click off of it, and then you never go in it again. And your wife is still angry at you 4 years later. So that's just me. So
that happened, huh?
Yes, of course it did. And she doesn't let me forget it either, which is appropriate. I screwed that one up.
It's epic.
So people were out there ordering their kits. They were putting in their things. They were doing it. I'll tell you right now, there were 2 season ticket holder discounts. There was a 25% and there was a 20%. And if you got the 25%, then you know. And if you got the 20%, then you know. Those codes were out there and people were sharing them. And the funny thing was, if you had the Honey app, people had inputted it in. And once you use a coupon code and you have the Honey app goes, oh, well, do you want us to share that with other people? And apparently people said yes, because people who are using the Honey app were getting 20 and 25% off in their carts whenever they were going through that. So
wow, you went through the whole. You clearly, from your description, you lived and breathed the whole thing, Josh.
So it was. So about 57 minutes into it, I can tell you that there was a noticeable lack of kits at the Team LA store. Extra smalls and smalls only. The Authentics flying off the shelf, by the way, and the Team LA store marks things up higher than the Adidas store, or than the MLS store, and then the Adidas store also said it. So they're going to restock. There's going to be a restock. If you go on MLSstore.com, or if you go to LAGalaxy.com and click on the shop button there, it should take you to the MLS store. They're basically doing pre-sales now for that mid-March reload of kits, because they sold out of everything already. The stuff they had in stock is gone.
Where does it stand in? Do we know in terms of fastest selling jersey in
Apparently
MLS
it is.
history?
Apparently it is. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it felt like from just reading stuff and seeing it and the furore and on social media and stuff, and knowing that, you know, when something runs out that quick, you know it's a hot ticket. So I was wondering where it sat in the pantheon of shirt selling.
Yeah, apparently. Well, Chris Thomas's tweet was the most successful MLS kit launch in history. I have to imagine there's a metric tied to that. And because he was willing to put that out there, I have to imagine there's something to that. So I would say it is the most successful. The interesting thing here is before we get to the really bad part that shouldn't have happened, and they're still going to work on fixing it, is that now I lost my train of thought. I knew as soon as I thought about Julian Araujo, I was going to get upset.
You were talking about, what's interesting is the shirt has sold without a major, I say this respectfully, without a major superstar.
You said it, and that was one of the things I wanted to get to. Thank you. That wasn't what I was going for, but this was another part. You can't put this on Chicharito. Chicharito didn't sell those shirts.
No.
Jonathan Dos Santos didn't sell those shirts. There is no player on that team that sold this shirt. The bottom line is it was the correct shirt at the correct time in the correct design, and it almost didn't matter how much they charged. They charged too much for the Authentics, and it's not. That's the other thing is there is so many people who went out and got the Authentics. A lot of times you see a lot of replicas, and I understand the Authentics are ridiculously expensive. But that's how you get the stars, and that's everybody wanted the 5 stars on that jersey, and people are spending a lot of money on that to do it. So they got so many things right, and they hit the right notes. The one bad thing that got screwed up really was Julian Araujo switched numbers just I think last week, right, or earlier in the week. I think we talked about it on Monday. He went from 22 to 2. This was once Perry Kitchen departed. Julian wanted to be number 2, and he was 22 before, so he clearly had the 2s thing, sort of likes it. So he goes back. He grabs the number 2, sort of takes off after Mr. Todd Dunavant, who used to be number 2 for the LA Galaxy and play defense. So I kind of like that as well. So he announced he had number 2. But if you ordered from Team LA store, if you ordered from the MLS store, the drop-down menus when you started were Julian Araujo, number 22. And I will say that I know for a fact people did not buy his jersey because it had the wrong number, and they were afraid they weren't going to get it. Now, I talked to the LA Galaxy about this. They said that if you bought it from the Team LA store, they're going to make that correction, right? They control that. So they're going to make that correction. They're going to make sure the 22s go out as a 2. So if you bought it from the Team LA store, you might want to check, just to double check. But the LA Galaxy have told me that is going to happen. The 22s will ship out as 2s, and they got the drop-down menu fixed in about 15 or 20 minutes, almost by the time they were sold out. But still, it took them a little while to get it fixed. But they control that, so they were able to do that. If you bought it from the MLS store, however, they're still telling people that if you bought it with the 22, and this is not the LA Galaxy, this is the MLS store, they're saying if you bought it with the 22, it's coming with the 22. And the LA Galaxy are absolutely working on it. I know Chris Thomas is working on it. I know Vicky Mercado is working on it. I know they're trying to get that because nobody wants to buy that jersey and then be stuck with a number he's not wearing anymore. You want to have the 2 on it. And so... And
also the reason why he changed the number 2... for him, I'm sure, and you said that he's upset. And
I heard that he was upset and that he was looking at ways to fix it. I mean, in my mind, there's easy ways to fix this. Is that you get a hold of the people at the MLS store and you say, hey, morons, no, put the 2 on. Everybody wanted Julian Araujo with the 2. If you need to, email them and ask them, do you want it with 22 on or 2, which is his new numbers? Go above and beyond. That's a processing center there. That's a big facility that they do for the MLS store. So you're not getting people who are necessarily MLS employees. You're getting people who are I think it's like fanatics, because the MLS store and then the stuff that I buy from like Arizona State, and then the stuff that I buy from my wife's college, which is University of Maryland, all send me emails at the exact same time. So they're all the same company doing the same thing and sort of pushing that stuff. So it's a big warehouse. So they don't have control over that, but they're trying to. They're trying to tell them to change that and do that. If that doesn't work and they ship out 22 with Araujo from the MLS store, that's fine. The LA Galaxy should say, just bring it to us and we'll replace it.
Whose mistake is it, Josh?
I have to imagine that either it was an oversight by the LA Galaxy where they said we forgot to change the numbers because they probably had the number list in there and beforehand, right? Because it was planned out in advance, and then Julian Araujo changes and they forgot to do it, or they did tell people and they didn't do it in time to change it, right?
Right.
So either of those happens. I don't care which way it is. It just needs to be right for people. And I know the Galaxy are working on it. They want to make it right. So as much as you want to blame them or get angry at them, they're supposed to be trying to fix this.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do. Again, like I said, the easy thing is really just about trying to get the right number in the right hands. And Julian Araujo, the bad thing is if he had any bonuses in his contract, and we don't know if he does, but let's say if he sold a certain number of shirts that, he would get like a little kicker on it.
Yeah.
That took a hit because people didn't want to buy it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'd fix that because, if there's a player that you want to make sure that you take care of, it's him,
It is. And by the way, Matthew in the chat room says, if you have the number 22, Julian Araujo, and you get it, maybe if you're into collecting jerseys, you save that one because now it's a collectible. It's a quote unquote misprint on it. So we'll see how all of that goes. But yeah, unbelievably successful kit launch. They did a lot of things right. They messed up on the season ticket holders. I would have sent those codes out earlier, and I think that they messed up on Julian Araujo. I think the prices continue to be just astronomically expensive. I mean, $180 something for an authentic kit. That doesn't happen over in England there, Sophie. You can buy an authentic kit for much cheaper than that.
Yeah.
In fact, if you buy them, if you ordered one from where you are in Southern California and it got shipped from the UK all the way here, it would still be cheaper than
it would. I've bought Arsenal kits for some of my friends' kids, and it's cost me like $60, not even, with putting their name on it and getting the shipping, and then obviously buying the shirt and stuff like that. And in Europe a lot, if a player leaves, for example, and it's happened, Josh, where all of a sudden there's a transfer and he goes, they honor that. So if you, say, for example, bought a Ronaldo shirt and he left Real Madrid, they would honor that and you'd be able to swap it generally. So yeah, I think sometimes we forget in this time, it's very tricky. A shirt launch is really big. I mean, this is massive money for a club. Yes. You guys, and to have to do it in a COVID environment where you can't, like I said, have the hoopla and the press and the day and everything there. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot. It's a lot, isn't it, Josh? Well, it really is. It's not easy.
It is, but I think that you can provide maybe a better perspective on this than anybody else, just understanding the PR side of things and coming from a little more of that background. I mean, you can't control
you can control the narrative as much as you can, but when people are in the room and you're one-on-one with them and you're talking, and then say you'd have had, I'd imagine if it was in person, it would have been Jonathan Dos Santos, it would have been Chicharito, Araujo, maybe the goalkeeper.
Yeah, there would have been lasers.
Lasers and all that type of stuff. And then you've got the networks and everyone gets excited. And then you've got the one-on-one with the players. And then you've got like the round table, or you've got everyone, doing the presser. You've got Chris Klein there. You've got I'm not sure if most people would have been happy with that, but you got Chris Klein there.
Right.
You've got the coach, which nobody has had the opportunity yet to kind of sit with and talk to, and
except this show, because we got them right after.
Yeah,
other
but I mean,
than
in
that,
person,
yes,
you know what
yes,
I mean?
yes.
It's a totally different ball game when you're creating an event. Events are supposed to be with people in person. There's only so much you can do on Zoom, and you lose that touch, that vibe and that excitement and the showpiece. And LA is all about show. It's a show.
It is.
And I can imagine it was a bit of a bummer that they weren't able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's weird because it's hard to sort of put the genie back in the bottle and say maybe it would have been better this way, because it was so successful the way they did it. The cartoon that they put out was beautiful, and gorgeous. Awesome. All the stories. I mean, the media that I got, like, usually you get 3 or 4 pictures and you get a video and everybody's happy, and I got like 30 pictures. I mean, they went so far out of their way. All the photographers who worked on this, unbelievable job during COVID to get all that stuff done. The stuff that they shot at the Rose Bowl, they got it right. It means nothing when the team falls on its face later this year if they can't put it together, and I understand that.
Right. But
if you wanted to elevate the collective psyche of a fan group who has been battered and beaten here, and maybe that's what Arsenal needs. They need a really nice new kit, Sophie, and maybe that'll solve some problems. But it made the pandemic disappear for about 30 or 45 minutes as people were frantically trying to buy something that they knew their kids would wear someday, because it is that iconic of a kit. It's a throwback and it's a copy, but it's more than that in 2021 and what it means. So, I mean, they shifted a whole mentality for a couple hours for a fan base.
Do you know what it is, Josh? They made us feel normal again. Things like that make you feel normal again. And we're not living, everyone says this new normal. No, it's a new abnormal. And none of us, obviously it's been a struggle, and it's, I don't want to get into the whole COVID thing, but what I loved was, the Rose Bowl angle was just a beautiful touch, and I think for a lot of people coming into this too, and younger fans, this is what I say to a lot of Arsenal fans too, who just have lived the Wenger era. Well, you know what? Before also the Emirates, there was Highbury. There's this nostalgia. Each club has so much great history, whether you've been around for as short a time as Leipzig have, or you've been around as long as LA Galaxy or Manchester United. Every team has a story to tell, and I think they did that in a really well. And just for a fleeting moment, it felt like, wow. I think it also gave people hope that they might be able to go back to the football this season, Josh.
Maybe. I mean, we sit here and we guess, and now it's funny because everybody who ordered the kit now is like, can we wear these to the game? Like, how's everybody going to look whenever they go to the game? By the way, big shout out to Will, who gave us a little $5 super chat there. He says, this is a paid advertisement from Honey. So see, we did get our money from Honey. $5. We appreciate that. Thanks, Will. Very much appreciated. No, I mean, it's... Again, I think they did a great job. I think they did what you would hope, everything you'd hope a kit to be. And now they move on. And unfortunately, it's over, and we turn the page because we're done. There's nothing more to worry about that. The next thing you want to see is the players wearing it on the field, and that's not going to happen until April 17th. So there's still a lot of work for the LA Galaxy to do. I'm looking at the roster again. Jonathan Dos Santos is a starter, so you can certainly count on him.
It's a big season for him.
It's a huge, and apparently it's a contract year for him. So this is it. And if he doesn't do well, then the LA Galaxy probably don't ask him to come back. He's bought a house in LA. He wants to stay. I think he's a TAM player next year, and if that's the case, then maybe that's better for the LA Galaxy. But he's got to come here and show that he's healthy and that he can play. And then he can play to a level that we sort of expected him to play in 2019, whenever he was playing with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and we said, hey, this is the Jonathan Dos Santos we expected.
Totally. I know he's been injured and he's come back, and he's, obviously his knee previously as well. And this is a big year for him. He's got to show up. He's too important of a player, and the team needs him. And obviously if injuries come, but now he's got to show something big this season. I think it's time.
Yeah, it is. It's time for him. It's time for, Javier Hernandez. We talk about Chicharito all the time. He's doing all the right things. He's working out. He looks like he's in shape.
Those hammer workout videos that he and Emilio have been putting together are quite entertaining.
They've been working out. He's been working out. If I had his body, oh man, I could do some damage of sitting here on the podcast. And so, Chicharito's doing well. He looks like he's going. Pipo Gonzalez has a huge year to sort of prove that he is even half of a player that he was supposed to be. In all this, Sebastian Lletget has to prove that last year wasn't just a fluke of him being good on a bad team. And by the way, I'm still very critical of his season last year. I think that he played out of position more than he really should have, and that's why he scored a lot of goals, but nobody else was scoring, so I don't know that you could really blame him for that. So Sebastian Lletget there. I mean, Dan Steres sort of has to prove. All these people in this chat room and most of the people on Twitter are saying the LA Galaxy need a new center back, and as soon as they do that, they rarely throw him in place of Pipo Gonzalez, who's horrible. They want to toss Dan Steres out, and I'm telling you, Dan Steres is one of the better American defenders in Major League Soccer, and he needs to prove that and show that with a competent defense behind Greg Vanney. There's so many guys who have to prove stuff this year.
They do, but the thing with Dan is, and you and I have seen it, he's leadership material, that guy.
He should be. He absolutely should be, right?
In interviews, he stands up. He doesn't shy away. We've seen him be like, he takes it on. There were some terrible moments where, we were doing interviews last year and it was like, oh gosh, how do you kind of ask them, like, why are you so crap? In a really polite way. And I always felt like he handled things quite well. That's the thing with this team, Josh, is leadership.
Yeah. No, you're right,
Yeah.
Hunter. I don't mean to interrupt, and I apologize.
No.
But Chicharito apparently is that guy right now, and you want to see that. You need that to happen, Sophie. You need Chicharito to be a leader on this team because you need him to be good, because if he's not good, the LA Galaxy aren't going to be good. Same thing happens with Jonathan Dos Santos. You want him to be a leader on this team. Somebody has to figure out how to win, and then they have to understand what winning means, and you never worried about that during the Bruce Arena years in 2011, 2012. There were guys on that team who knew what it meant to win an MLS Cup. That's hard to do. Winning is hard. Winning constantly is hard.
Yes.
People want to ask how they bring back this LA Galaxy team, and my argument is you need that leadership, but you need to understand what winning is, and you need to understand that losing will tear that locker room apart again. If you lose all the time, your locker room is going to be crap. There's no way to save that.
Different coach as well, and maybe a coach who isn't going to try and put square pegs in round holes sometimes. I think that was one of the biggest things with GBS, and there was a frustration on that front. But at some point, the players have to take accountability as well. And there were games where they didn't show up and didn't show enough fight. And when they were faced with adversity, they struggled a lot last season. So it's really important. And when you see we were talking at the top of the show about there's no movement, there's nothing really happening. Is this manager going to be able to turn this team around? He's got a big job on his hands.
Here, let's play a game. I want you to count starters for me. So I'm going to tell you who's a starter on this roster, and you keep track of them. So that way we can figure out how many starters are currently out of 25. Okay. All right, Jonathan Dos Santos is a starter. Javier Hernandez is a starter. Pipo Gonzalez is absolutely a starter on this team. Sebastian Lletget is a starter. Dan Steres is a starter. Now we have to start going down. Julian Araujo is a starter. Still going down the list. I'm at Kai Koreniuk, who is not. Sasha Kleshin is not a starter, probably a guy. Jorge Villafana is a starter. So he's there. Jonathan Bond is a starter. Okay, I'm done. How many starters do I have?
8.
I have 8. So you need 3 more to field a team.
In which positions as well?
So both wings get
Both
you
wings.
there. And
Because
then,
you're going to have to fill the Pavon void, right?
Yes. And then I think that there is a midfielder in there as well. So both wings and a midfielder of some sort. I guess Leggett is going to be one of those, I think, attacking players. He may end up playing on the wing. You might need a defensive midfielder in there because Vanny seems to think that Jonathan Dos Santos is going to be his attacking midfielder or more his box-to-box thing. And by the way, we have to stop for a second. Matthew dropped $20 in our super chat. So Matthew, I mean, if you want to chime in with the thing you would like us to talk about for a minute, you're more than welcome to pick a subject whenever you tip $20 for sure. So we appreciate that. But yeah, the 2 wings, Pavone solves one of those, right? So if you sign Christian Pavone, then he comes in on the left wing. There's nobody currently at the right wing unless you want to move Sebastian Leggett out there. You have 2 center backs in Steres and Pipo Gonzalez. You have a back line. You have a goalkeeper, so that's settled. Javier Chicharito Hernandez is supposed to be your starting striker, so he's there. That doesn't even count, by the way, the depth the LA Galaxy do not have. And it's funny because they have 25 players on the roster. You would expect that if they don't have a whole bunch of starters, that there's a whole bunch of depth, and I don't see that either. So they have a lot of work to do, but they have a whole bunch of international slots, and I would imagine right now they have some TAM on there as well. So
what's the deadline for that, Josh?
We have plenty of time. The transfer window doesn't even open up, I think, until March, and it doesn't close until June 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of time to sort of get there. There's a lot of free agents available. I know people are talking about Dom Dwyer, and don't you dare talk about Dom Dwyer on this podcast. I see anybody who's a reporter and who was there that day is never going to say you should sign Dom Dwyer. If you want to talk about. Yeah, it's crazy
I'll just
to
let
me.
you address that.
It's crazy to me that one person can melt down and not a meltdown, but consciously do something that hurts their reputation from there on out with reporters. I mean, reporters are never going to be on Dom Dwyer's side again. That was it. We're done. You can't convince me that they're ever going to do that as well. So, by the way, big shout out to Eduardo, $5 on the super.
You've got the money
chat.
Coming in now, mate. I mean, you opened up Pandora's box here.
I think what they really want to do. I keep waiting. If you do tip, you suggest things that you want us to talk about, and as long as it's not rude or crude, I will take your suggestions, especially on a night where we literally had like 2 things to talk about. And somehow we've made it to an hour right now on these things. But Anthony as well, thank you for that, and Eduardo. So that's where it is. And and John says he's trying, but too many password attempts, and now he's locked out on his Amex and the black Amex. The Rich Galaxy fans, have you heard that fun thing too? The Rich Galaxy fans thing.
I have not. Is this something I should know about?
Let me ask the chat room. Is it worth it?
Is this a recent thing?
Yes, it is. I think it was a West Ham fan. I'm going to get it wrong. There was a West Ham supporter who said something like, "Oh, well, I would support the LA Galaxy, but it's the LA Galaxy are just a bunch of rich people, and LAFC are where the salt of the earth people are." Sort of, I'm paraphrasing the whole deal.
Oh my gosh, hilarious.
And so somebody tweeted out, by the way, it was unbelievable. It was he's like, "I'm here for all of that LA Galaxy like salty Twitter chat," which is like now for the rest of this year for sure, and probably for the next 10 years. The Rich Galaxy fans thing is going to be, people were buying their kits and being like, "Man, Rich Galaxy fans got to do our things." It's just they've embraced it. They've taken this insult that everybody, of course, is rich who is an LA Galaxy fan, and they've taken it, and now it's just like now it's their thing. The Galaxy are going to wear that, and so I was thinking about making a shirt that said Rich Galaxy fans on it, and of course, charging reasonable prices for such shirt because Rich Galaxy fans can't go spending money on t-shirts. That's that type of thing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you saw the list that just came out, right? The top 10 richest clubs or owners in the world, and LA Galaxy were number 6.
Number 6
with Philip, Mr. Anschutz.
Mr. Anschutz has a lot of money. It doesn't mean he can spend it in major
billion.
It doesn't mean he can spend it all in Major League Soccer.
I know. Such a shame that he can't. Seriously, it is a shame.
It doesn't make sense, I think, for him to spend, the type of money that maybe you'd spend in France or maybe you'd spend in England on a team. Just it doesn't make sense right now. Certainly the salary rules don't really allow you to do it. I mean, if you wanted to spend $100 million on a player, you absolutely could. The rules allow it. They'd be a designated player, and you'd pay them whatever the transfer fee is plus whatever they're making. So if you wanted to pay, a Messi $50 million to come play for the LA Galaxy, you absolutely could do it. It's within the rules. But that doesn't really make sense in an MLS era to do that. So it's just about growing that league and letting Phil eventually spend some of that money. And the other thing is that he has so many assets, and AEG is one of his assets, and they hold so many things that's not exactly liquid, monetary funds. He can't just go out and write a check for $10 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have that.
No. It's a show. I think MLS, and that's a whole other show, by the way, because in terms of growth, I don't know Simon. Oh my gosh, his last name escapes me. I love his books. Soccernomics guy, Simon.
Don't ask. I was going to say Simon Cowell, and that's clearly not the person you're looking for.
He wrote a book where he talked about China and the US becoming the emerging markets in soccer and stuff like that. So, and obviously there's that rumor, of course, that's been going around for a while about Suarez and Messi going into Miami, and where's Ronaldo going to end up next? So it's. We may have to wait another season for the mega superstars to come over, Josh. But the economic model, I think, I don't think it'll ever change, because the sustainability, and the comfort that sustainability brings. It's very difficult to overhaul it, isn't it, really, when you don't have relegation and promotion as well?
It is. And but that also allows, I think, not having promotion relegation allows you to invest more in the team, knowing it's still going to be there the next year. I mean, you can knock that as much as you want, and I think there's some valid arguments to looking at ProRel and sort of saying, the LA Galaxy would have been relegated by now, so you wouldn't have had to worry about them. They would have been, especially after 2017 for sure. They may have fought their way back up, but that's not a given, being how they played throughout that stretch. But however that ends up happening, Sophie, eventually the money will be spent, and we're seeing more and more money being spent in MLS all the time. But I'm still going to be here. I was on one of my friends' podcasts last night, because I have nothing better to do apparently than go on podcasts. But Jesse is a Galaxy fan, is one of the people who was one of our earlier listeners, I think in 2013 or 2014 or something like that, went through some cancer treatment and is all doing better. And so he has a podcast. So I went on his. I think it's the Jesus Show, and it's not that Jesus. I'm sure I'm getting it wrong, Jesse. I apologize. But we went on there, and he was sort of saying something, and I forget how we got into it, but I said, I don't think you understand. I want to podcast and cover the LA Galaxy until I'm 90 years old. Until I die, I would like to do this because I enjoy it and it's fun. I want to be the guy that whenever you walk into the podcast or whenever you walk into the press box, you look over in the corner and there's this old guy who's sort of hunched over looking at the starting lineups, who's got all of his stuff laid out in the corner, and they're like, who is that guy? And they're like, you don't know who that is? That's Josh Guesman. He just shows up and he does podcasts. And we don't, I don't know. He's been here forever. He's before, that's me. I want that. And I just want to be in the story. And, everybody sort of says hi, but nobody really talks to me. I'm off in my little corner. I'm arguing with the PR people about stats and how they weren't kept right. And back in 2021, we did this. And, that's.
Will Baxter be right next to you?
Yeah. No, he'll be long dead. He's way older than me. So, yeah. So, for sure. Especially if somebody doesn't kill him. And he keeps breaking his feet. Simon and Garfunkel. Simon
I know.
Holmes.
It's so funny. It's Simon Cooper, you guys. I got Simon Le Bon. I mean,
they really tried to help you out.
They really did.
Simon Says. So very good. All right. So anyway, awesome. I think that's it for tonight. I hopefully we had a little bit of a wacky show and we got some fun stuff in there as well. I'm glad that everybody could sort of sit there and work through my excitement over the kit launch and how right everything went. Love it. I guess if you can't play well, you might as well look good. And right now, I think the LA Galaxy. Oh, I forgot to say this about the kit. Show me a nicer kit in World Soccer right now. I don't see them all.
Ooh.
But there isn't one. I'm telling you right now. I think the LA Galaxy have it this year. I think they have the nicest kit in soccer this year.
I'm a huge fan of Peru's kit, always have been.
Okay.
I love their kit. And Crystal Palace kind of have that, emulated that, and they have had it for years and they brought it back.
It's the best one in MLS for sure. That's not even close. I'm telling. I mean, since FC Cincinnati came out with a great one, and it's super sharp. And I'm like, any other year, FC Cincinnati, that one might have been the best one, but not this year, not this time. The LA Galaxy have that, and in my mind, you're going to have to go a long way. It has to be in the top 5 kits in the world. Has to be. There's no way that you can say that it's outside the top 5. So
could you imagine Zlatan in that kit?
Can they send him one?
We should just send him one so he could put it on. So
Larry
we can all just frame that picture.
Larry can put some bifocals in there for him or something like that, and
totally. If Larry asks, I think he'll get it done. I think it'll happen.
It'll be a good time. So anyway, Sophie, thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me back. It's been a while, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Great stuff.
You are amazing. You always step in whenever I need somebody, and Eric's going to be away from the podcast for a couple of weeks, so I imagine that we'll have Larry on next week, and then maybe we'll get back to you, and you can come on and do that again. So LA Galaxy getting closer to the start of the preseason. They're reporting things are going to be happening here starting in March. So pay attention. We should have some movement. We should have some things to talk about. We just don't have much to talk about right now, but somehow we still got an hour and 10 minutes. So, hey, we're hanging in there. All right. Sophie, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we'll get on out of here.
Yeah. At Soccer Diva on Twitter and at Highbury Squad as well. Check out our YouTube channel, Highbury Squad, if you like all things Arsenal and Premier League and European football. So thanks for having me, Josh. I love your passion, and I love your love for LA Galaxy. You're amazing, and keep doing what you're doing. You smash it, mate. Brilliant stuff.
Thank you, Sophie. You're so kind. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerthegalaxy.com. That's where we got our articles, our videos, our podcasts, all that stuff right there. Cornerthegalaxy.com. I'm going to go drink another liquid IV. You're not supposed to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. We're doubling up tonight. We're going crazy. For Miss Sophie the Cannon Nicolaou, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.
It's good stuff.